Boom, hey internets. In this video, I'm gonna talk about a key distinction that I've been thinking about lately as I just consumed the book Decoding Greatness by Ron Friedman. And there's a bunch of books that I should probably bring up in the channel that have helped me along the way, that have been influential and pivotal, I think more so in mindset. So I'm big on productivity, I'm big data in terms of achievement, and so productivity books and mindset books help me with that. And so of course I wanted to bring this thought process to the channel. So my intention is not to do a spoiler alert for Ron Friedman's book, but I think the big takeaway for me is to basically take apart a blueprint of what successful models of the business you're looking at have done in the past, right? So Friedman talks about collecting. In my scenario, I like to think about case studies. I've collected many case studies in the past of different clothing companies. And so for you, or for whatever business you're doing, you might want to have a collection of brands that you think have done really successful and have proven a model or a pathway. So when I tell you guys to have 3 other brands that are reference brands or brands you would like to hang next to, and when I say hang next to, I mean hang next to in retail, I'm trying to do a couple things. One, see what kind of brand you're looking at in terms of an idea of where you might want to position your brand, both retail-wise, price point-wise, product-wise. And if you're going direct to customer, it still kind of helps because those brands have already set up the way they've communicated their branding to the outside world. But in any case, creating a collection of successful brands and then trying to decode their greatness by trying to recreate a blueprint or a skeleton blueprint of how they got there. And so when I think about some of the brands I talk about on this channel as of late, as this is post dating, so Live Fit, I've talked about hundreds a lot in the past, and I still love all of the moves that Ben and Bobby are doing with that brand. But there's other brands that many of you guys will talk to me about, and I don't want to create a laundry list of this, because if you click on this way in the future, all you have to do is enter the brands that you're currently looking at or that you feel are currently really successful. And at this point, and with all the brands that I've talked to in consulting and that hit me up for questions, I think the biggest thing is to predetermine your audience. And so I talk about storytelling and marketing, which is super important for any kind of business that you're starting. And the vehicle for storytelling is going to be social media. Therein lies your marketing, right? You're trying to basically create a brand that has never been created before or didn't exist before you created it, and you're trying to create value inside of it so that now this t-shirt, this hat, this garment that bears your brand and your logo and your likeness has a value above, you know, the unit cost of just making that garment. And so when I do think of hundreds, when I do think of Live Fit, when I do think of Ruka, when I do think of Stussy, when I do think of enter whatever brand that you think is successful, you can pinpoint that they're connected to a culture, right? So as opposed to like a buzzword like demographics and audience, which I do think is relevant, but I think it's connected to a culture. And a lot of people in business say the riches are in niches. With apparel, you want to be careful that you don't niche down too narrow, but there's truth in that, in finding your niche and your culture, okay? I think Ben and Bobby with the hundreds reached out to the culture first by becoming a very well-known blog, and they started covering issues that were important to people in that culture. And so when the brand came out, many of you only know them as a clothing line, but I knew Ben and Bobby when they were just a really hard-hitting blog, and they're really just hitting to the roots of everybody that was doing all the nitty-gritty streetwear things, footwear things, all of the things affiliated. They were covering it, and it's like everyone was checking to see who was on their blog next. So some of you guys might just know it as a brand, but that was what I believe the beginning of the successful launch of their brand. And so by the time they came out with product, they batted out of the park. I mean, they got so many sales on their initial styles of t-shirts. I still remember having a conversation with Bobby at ASR when we still had ASR, and it was their first season selling shirts, and he was shocked. But if you think about it, I think the culture was behind them. The other case study that I was saying is Live Fit. So now if we take a look at Live Fit, what Randall Pitch did in the beginning was he was training a lot of high-level athletes, right? And they already had a social media following. So once he started gifting them with the shirts and they started wearing it, he had instant exposure, he had instant credibility, and then started feeding to that culture, that audience, that niche first. And that was the beginning beginning of the success. And Randall at that point had already dabbled or launched or been a part of another brand prior to that, so he had that experience as well. So he was able to roll into it a lot quicker and kind of, you know, triple down on what he saw was working. And if you zoom out on any brand that you think is successful, I'm pretty sure you're gonna see this commonality, which is they have a culture attached to it. Now, as for Decoding Greatness, this is just one part of the book that drew me to this thought process that I wanted to make a video about for the channel. Great book, you guys should check it out and then go ahead and apply it to your business and what you guys are doing now. I'm gonna do another version of this video that goes deeper into case studies. That'll be on the Patreon. But if you guys had any other questions on this or anything else, please drop them all down below. I read all of them. Or you could reach me at this number here. It gets my iPhone every single time. If you needed help launching anything on your brand, I would implore you to look at starting with t-shirts and hats or any of my other solutions on CBA. Those links will be below. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.